Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice for radio, and today I am very, very excited because we are talking about Bewear. Bewear is my favourite Pokemon from Pokemon Sun and Moon, other than the adorable Poplio, of course. Let's not go silly. But along with Poplio, Bewear is my very, very favourite. Now, he did have a card, he's getting a card, I should say, in the Pokemon Sun and Moon collection. The art is adorable. The card is underwhelming. Now, Bewear is a stage 1. That means you've got to take a turn to evolve him. You can use Wally to evolve him on the first turn of the game, but, well, for reasons we're going to talk about in a minute, you probably shouldn't. Plus, it's your supporter for the turn. Secondly, he's a colourless Pokemon who attacks for colourless energy, which means he can be teched into any deck you like. Now, for free energy, you can do 80 damage. You can do an additional 40, but you do 20 to yourself. 120 for free energy plus 20 to yourself is not particularly good. 130 HP on a stage 1 is fine, I suppose, but you don't want to keep damaging yourself. Retreat cost of free is quite a lot, and weakness to fighting, Pokemon like Zygarde can make it awkward. Now, this does have one interesting attack. Double colourless energy, Bear Hug. I mean, if nothing else, the attack's called Bear Hug, and that adds to the adorability factor. 40 damage, and you stop your opponent retreating. Now, we've talked about this before. Pokemon like Gabite. Double colourless energy, 1 energy attachment. Stopping your opponent retreating can be huge. People often use cards like Floatstone or free retreaters like Mew, and their plan is, right, well, I'll just put something up into the active for the time being. I can free retreat it later. We've seen things like Hooper. People often put a Floatstone on Hooper or a Floatstone on Garbodor so that they can just retreat them. If you use a Lysander to draw them active, you can keep them in the active using Bear Hug. This could be a fun attack. I don't think it's a particularly good attack. If this was on a basic double colourless 14 stop them retreating, I would really like Bear Hug. As it is, it's fine, I suppose, but I can only give this Bewear 2 Wassies. And honestly, that's fairly generous given that I love Bewear. You know, keeping him in the active, you can buy yourself some turns to set up. You can maybe even get a cheeky 2 prizes if your opponent cannot get something like a Hooper EX out the active. But I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, 2 Wassies is the most I can do here. But wait, because that Bewear is not going to get a video of his own. It's not good enough. There is another Bewear, ladies and gentlemen, and this one is much more exciting. Now, I've told you about Lycanroc GX. There is a Japanese comic, Korokoro, and you are getting an entire Lycanroc GX deck in December's issue, where you're also getting this Bewear. Now, the art, although adorable, is not as good as the other one, but that's not what's really exciting, because it has a good ability, a very good ability, and an interesting attack. Now, to start with the ability, when you evolve from Stoofle or Stuffle into Bewear, you get to draw 3 cards. Now, make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, drawing cards on a Pokemon is good. Now, Tierno, draw 3 cards as your supporter for the turn. That is my personal guess for what How is going to do. Is not particularly great, but it's your only supporter for the turn. But we all love playing Shaman EX, and Shaman EX will often draw you 3 cards. Now, it could draw you 5 or 6, but it will often draw you 3 cards. Bewear will get you 3 cards, and it's a guaranteed 3. You can have a hand of 7 cards, and it will draw you 3 cards. That is awesome. I love this. Now, it's only when you evolve him, and I suppose you really need to compare this not only against Shaman, but also against Oranguru. Oranguru allows you to draw until you've got 3 cards in your hand, which means if you got 1, you draw 2, if you got 2, you draw 1, etc. Now, this is on a basic Pokemon, 1 space in your deck, and it's every turn, whereas Bewear is just 3 cards once. It is very good, but here's what I'll say. Oranguru, I would play it for the ability alone. Bewear, I don't know if the ability is good to warrant playing for that on its own. But it also has an attack, Dangerous Blow. 60 damage for free colourless energy. That is just a double colourless and 1 more. Maybe even use Max Elixir onto Stuffle, as an example. But if they're a basic, it does 120. So something like Oranguru, oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, and that should be highly played, I imagine. I mean, you would hope it is, because it's a very good card, quite frankly. It's a basic Pokemon. You get to do a one-hit KO for free energy. Now, is this amazing? No, if they're not a basic, you're only doing 60 for free. But especially in the early game, we are moving into a format here where people are evolving more often, which means they've got more basic Pokemon with lower HP. Think something like a 60 HP Litten, like this promo that's just been revealed, that doesn't get a card on its own, I'm afraid, because, it's not good enough. Or indeed, this Togedemaru that's just been revealed, although he's actually got a little bit more than 60 HP. He's got, wait for it, 70 HP. Both of which will be very easily one-hit KO'd by Bewear. But as I've said, we can get up to bigger basics here. Now, something like a Volcanion, the non-EX, a basic that sees an awful lot of play, has 130 HP, but if you play something like a Professor Kukui to do an extra 20 damage here, now you're doing 140 and you're getting a one-hit KO. Free energy on a stage 1 plus Kukui, is that a bit too much to ask for a simple KO? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, but I like that we have a Bewear, and I like that it is playable. Now, the ability is very, very good. I don't think it's worth playing on its own. The attack is interesting and good in some situations, but I don't think it's worth playing on its own. But when you add in that he's a stage 1 only, that he's colourless, and that you've got the ability and the attack, I am now getting to the stage where I am willing to give Bewear free Wassies. Now, I am willing to admit that this grade is inflated by virtue of the fact that he is Bewear, and he is, oh my god, adorable. I have a Japanese contact who is getting me the Lycanroc deck, and I am delighted to find out I am getting a Japanese Bewear, and presumably a Japanese Stuffle as well. If that dude's watching, hey! But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? This is a playable card. The one from Sun and Moon is not great, but the promo here from the Lycanroc deck is good. Make no mistake about it, drawing free cards without having to attack or use your only supporter for the turn is a very, very good thing indeed. And there will be times when you can take 4 or 5 KOs with this attack on a deck which uses things like Oranguru. If you're against a quad Oranguru deck, and honestly I think that could be viable, then Bewear can run through that like hot butter. Now, do remember, of course, that Bewear is always going to be wanting to hunt down these basic Pokemon, which means that fighting Fury Belt will come into play and give them extra HP. But that's by the by, he's still awesome. Now you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen, it's YouTube. Comment, like, subscribe, you know how it works by now. Follow me on Twitter, @TheWassie, look at my podcast, PTCGRadio, on iTunes, go and subscribe there as well. And the most important thing as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.